Cool, welcome to the third video, and this one we're going to cover inside the animation section. So I'm going to focus on inside the perspective camera for right now. And let's get some controllers visible so that we can actually start posing this character out. So I'm going to set it to just simple shade mode. So overall, first thing that I want to focus on is I want to be able to grab all of, in this case, Levy's controllers so that I can do some quick keyframing to make my life easier. So first I'm just going to select the character and isolate select, just so I can box select and grab all of our controllers, just because of the always off curves on. And I'm going to skip through the top bit. I'm going to focus on this create selected buttons. So I'm going to call this Levy all. And a tooltip. This tooltip will appear on the bottom when you hover over the button, and also a little text box will appear when hovering the cursor on top of the button as well. So selects all of Levy's main controllers. Create button. So now we have this Levy all. If I deselect everything and even bring this back, I can click on that. It's going to select all of her controllers. And as I hover over, you can see that it's filled in what I typed in. So this makes it really easy to build your own custom shelf with a lot of selected tools that you're constantly grabbing of a character all the time. So with that, I can go to frame 1. I can hit keyframe, same thing as hitting S. So key is not really as necessary, just because my hand is usually hovering over S all the time, but I included it in there just to be on the safe side, and I made sure to make it red so it's easy to tell this is for keys, because as we move along, let's see, I get a quick little pose in here. So side, and let's grab her head and let's parent it to world just so it saves a little bit of work. And I'm going to open up the graph editor real quick because I want to do the same thing here. Parent to 3, which is for her world. And let's get something a little bit more relaxing and natural in here. Boom. And maybe with this, I'll parent it to her pelvis, because maybe she's going to put her hand on her hips. So I don't want to spend too much time on building a super nice pose, because it's all about showcasing this tool right here. And maybe this arm, let's just set it so it's nice and relaxed. And, you know, maybe over here, she's starting to look down and look at all the things on the table here. So I'm going to parent this to world and nudge it down so that she's eyeing the table. So from here, I have like these 2 keyframes. In general, it's kind of okay. But they're side by side right now because I didn't focus on any of the timing quite yet. So what I can do is I can now start adding some in-betweens. So I'm going to first click on my little button here in order to select all the controllers. And I can start adding in-betweens using these pluses and these minuses. So +1, +5, +10, -1, -5, -10. And what it'll do is it'll take whatever key I have on the current frame and after, and that's what's going to nudge. So on this keyframe, if I hit +1, it's going to move it forward one keyframe and replace it with an in-between. If I grab +5, it's going to do the exact same thing as before, and same with -1. Even if I'm on that keyframe and hit -1, it's going to bump it back. But if I hit -1 anymore, we can see it's not going to nudge anything, even -5 or -10. So it only affects all the keyframes from the current frame selection and later. Um, so we can do that. And right now we can see that because of how the menu is, it is going to auto in between. But there's this nifty little feature. I don't know when it came in, but I'm going to click toggle stepped. And even though inside of Windows, settings, preferences, even in here, it's still set to auto span, it's going to behave like step mode. And if I click it again, it's going to go off of that. So it's a great way in order to just see all our wonderful keyframes overall. If we happen to have any keys that are on a fractional frame, so if, for example, I start doing this, we can see that the auto snap is starting to take an effect, which I'm surprised because sometimes it doesn't want to behave properly. And over here, oh sweet, it actually is. So that's cool. What this will do is it will snap any of those fraction of all the curves you have selected or controllers. It will snap whatever keys are not on an integer, sort of like a whole number, and it will move it to the nearest whole number. Mask objects, what this is going to do is it's going to take all of this. So right now, everything is visible. So if I click on mask objects, show, it hides it all except for the image planes, polygons, NURBS curves, and NURBS surfaces. Now, I'm going to let you know it only affects this window right here, the perspective window, or the upper right one. That's default perspective, because it's based on the panel. I don't know how to do it for it to affect whatever is the current active one. Because if I click on mask objects here, we can see that it does nothing. It still show all, because this is technically panel 1 most of the time. Apparently it bugs out a little bit. So just to give you a heads up on that. Now the unfortunate thing too is if you want locators to still be visible, you're gonna have to turn locators on, or cameras, or what have you. But that is the mask objects. Playback speed. Sometimes the playback speed is default to play every frame free. So what this does is it will set that to real time. And so I'm just going to use Twimachine in order to get a very quick breakdown pose right here. So boom, and let's grab like these two and pull them back. Now what I can do here is with everything selected, I can hit a breakdown key instead, so you can see it's going to turn green, which will be super nice to kind of distinguish what's going to be keyframe and what's going to be a breakdown pose. And we can see that I was just mindlessly went to S for that. Now the next part, I'm toggling this back off. So we have everything all is in spline, so it's slow in and slow out, as we can see in the graph editor right here. And we can see like a lot of these channels aren't looking like the greatest. But the other thing too is in order to avoid having to go through the graph editor frequently, we can change all the curves to auto, which currently is right now, to linear. So you can see it's like there's some adjustments. It's very even. So if I open the graph editor, we can see everything's straight lines, linear. I can hit this one to automatically change everything to step mode, or flatten, where it's going to flatten out all the tangents, because it can be handy sometimes with any of these for while working. And so I already covered this one. And I'm going to go with the next video to cover the constraint and match placement, but I think overall I covered all of these. So I'll see you in the next video.